The FSB is coming for your crypto investments, and now we know how they're going to try to do it. And by FSB, of course, I mean the Financial Stability Board, and not Russia's failed system of business. Now, there's something called the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements. In their own words, their mission is to support central banks' pursuit of monetary and financial stability through international cooperation and to act as a bank for central banks. The member countries of the BIS are basically all of them. All the countries in the world. The FSB is a part of the BIS, so any recommendations of the FSB should be interpreted as basically instructions to the BIS for how to conduct their operations. What the FSB recommends, you should take very seriously. Remember in our last episode, we talked about how the FSB wanted to regulate the cryptoverse. There is a high chance that these recommendations, at least in a very similar format to how they are worded now, might be adopted. Let's first keep in mind, though, that there is no such thing as international law. Yeah, people love to study it in university. I did. But the very name is a misnomer. You can only have law if you have a governing body above that law. The United Nations? There's a reason it can only offer resolutions and not laws. International law is actually international agreements. So how can an organization such as the BIC make laws? If the BIC says do this, does a country have to do it? Yes and no. They don't have to, but they usually will. If they don't, they could face sanctions by other countries, and I guess I don't have to explain that any further at this moment. I'll only say that Fox Mulder was right about a lot of things. Right-wing QAnon nutcases talk about the deep state, but today I'm talking about the BIC. Let me take a step back, though, and establish a couple of things. I'm not in any way against international cooperation. I think it's good. I think it's necessary. Of course I would. I'm no anarchist. We need to work together to make the world a better place. My only issue is when the international organization itself proposes laws rather than these bills or proposed laws being presented through the UN and then making their way up the ladder. That offers a much stronger sense of accountability. There's debate involved, discussion, compromise, and yes, bureaucracy. While annoying, bureaucracy does exist for a reason. In this same way, who or what is the BIC accountable to? The UN? No. Central banks of countries. Central banks are accountable to their governments. But let's face it, most countries in the world, especially the US, are in fact technically not democracies. Well, no country is actually a democracy, but that's a topic for another time. But oligopolies. That means they're controlled by companies, corporations, big business. So the BIC is an international organ of control operated by corporations, to put it very simply. Anyhow, the FSB was specifically established according to their charter to identify and assess vulnerabilities in the international financial system, to coordinate how members can take action, to recommend what action should be taken, and to basically be involved in planning cross-border crisis management. It's this last thing I want to focus on for a second. Cross-border, their recommendations have implications on governmental and financial regulations in sovereign countries. Yeah, we need this, but I didn't vote for it. And neither did you. Moving on. The FSB's suggestions to the BIC for how to regulate crypto will allow some form of in-house debate until December 15th, which means that the very earliest anything would happen would be early 2023. That's not much time. Ironically, the document also reminds people that any decisions made are not legally binding. Yeah, and I was given a choice to accept my Apple user regulations. Or to take it a step further, it's like the USSR and its successor regime. We will kill you, but you are free to have referendum to join us. Why have I just explained all this in what might have seemed like a rant? I'll tell you, of course. The FSB's document in question is based on a series of questions they asked, such as essentially asking of you meaning members of the BIC, the rich and powerful and not regular people, asking you if you can think of any ways that crypto can be dangerous to the status quo. For example, one question is worded as, are the FSB's proposals sufficiently comprehensive and do they cover all crypto asset activities that pose or potentially pose risks to financial stability? The document goes on to analyze whether crypto is excessively volatile and conclude that it is not volatile today in the middle of the crypto winter, so now is the perfect time to strike. And I don't mean going all French and refusing to go to work for reasons other than a new COVID outbreak. I mean it's time to stomp all over crypto and regulate the heck out of it, because it's something they cannot at this moment control. The whole reason crypto was started was so it could be an alternative to the very financial system that is trying to take it over. Of course, these proposed regulations would have to be global. Otherwise, you could have rogue countries that could turn into Malta, Panama, essentially offshore paradises for those who have access to them. But what exactly is this so-called financial stability the FSB and BIC are trying to protect? The report specifically mentions that there could be a new stablecoin that could somehow replace fiat currencies. Currencies like the dollar that aren't based on anything real like gold. And if that happens, yeah, it could be pretty dangerous to the financial world order. But isn't that the point? Actually, I think a better question would be, would that be a good thing to disrupt the global financial status quo? That's a topic for another time. Let's keep in mind that the leader of the FSB is also the leader of the Dutch Central Bank, and the Dutch Central Bank has been a major driving force in the work of the World Economic Forum in their attempts at resetting global markets. Why does this matter? Many governments have been developing their own form of digital currencies, CBDCs or central bank digital currencies. They all view stablecoins as direct competition. And rather than compete against them as dictated by the very principles of capitalism, they are instead trying to regulate them, take them out of the equation. In other words, they're trying to change the rules of the game while the game is being played. That's cheating. Go to jail, go directly to jail, do not pass go, do not collect everyone else's dividends. Why would stablecoins be a risk? Let's look at Bitcoin for a moment. It's not really based on anything. It's based on people's belief that it has value. It's down at the moment, but Bitcoin has proven that it is resilient. People believe in it. That makes Bitcoin, from a certain point of view, a cryptocurrency that is actually based on something and that can retain its own value. That also makes Bitcoin a target of the FSB. And what might their plan of attack be? Enforcing know your customer principles at the very level of blockchain itself. This would do away with crypto wallets and could do away with crypto itself if you can't buy it the way it currently works. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a currency war. I am not a financial advisor. I'm only a BTS analyst with EXO credentials for GOT7 with NCT 127 clearance and the TVXQ. If you don't understand what that means, then you're clearly not a fan of KPOP. Future Digital is coming at you from Estonia, the crypto capital of the European Union. Our fact about Estonia for this episode is about marriage. Now keep in mind that Estonia is one of the least religious countries in the world, if not the least. So why would people get married? Especially as the official divorce rate 20 years ago was roughly 80%, and now it's around half and half. And this doesn't mean a yearly divorce rate, it means roughly half of all marriages will eventually divorce. But not that many people even get married. It's just not important to a huge part of the country. Why then are same-sex marriages not allowed if it's not for religious reasons? If you are against same-sex marriage, talking to you, let me ask you, why do you care? You're not statistically going to get married yourself anyhow. I mean, I married a woman once, and I think all women should have that right.